Hi, everybody, it's Marcy, and I just had a birthday, and my husband, much to my surprise, got me some goodies that I've mentioned to him from time to time. I can't even remember the last time I mentioned to him about wanting to try making some handmade paper. It's just something I hadn't done. So, much to my surprise, he went ahead and ordered some stuff for me to try making some handmade paper. So we've got three uh wow molds and decals, and they're attached on the side so they stay together. Not sure how that's going to work. We'll see. I may end up taking those off, but I'm going to give it a try first. And there's 3 different sizes. This one looks to be about 8 1/4 by right at about 12. This one appears to be 6 by about 8 1/4. And this one is about a little over 4 1/4 by about 6 1/4. So 3 of those, and he got me some reusable sponge cloths to soak up the water and moisture out of the paper. And then we've got some flowers, dried flowers. So we've got Don't Forget Me, lavender. Looks like there's some little like sachet bags in it as well. Gomphrena, lily, rose petal. Oh, little rose buds. Chrysanthemum, jasmine, and red plum. So those are going to be fun to play with. Okay, so I'm going to put my flowers away for now, because I'm certainly not ready for those yet. And so this will be, I've watched about a gazillion YouTube videos on doing this. But this will be my first try at it. And there's some things that I want to kind of play around with. So I thought I'd bring you guys along on my journey. So let me get my first step set up, and I will come right back to you. Okay, so for the first part of my adventure, I'm going to be using my paper shredder. And I've got some bad prints left over from Adeline's scrapbook that I just showed the journal flip through for that in my last video. And now this is going to be loud, and I apologize. So I'm going to send them through my shredder. Now, as I understand it, shredder is not necessary. You can hand tear your papers however you want to do it. I like shredding them, and I keep a bag, a small trash bag in my shredder bin That way it can catch all the shredded paper, and I can just keep it in a bag until I'm ready to move on to the next step of making it into paper pulp. So for the first go round, I've got some papers separated out that I'm going to do regular weight, just regular paper, and I may throw in a few book pages. We'll see. I've got some cardstock paper, and I also want to try some shiny, like magazine type paper, but I want to do them separately to see how they come out when we're making paper. And then at some point I'll start mixing them together. But first I'm, just because that's what I want to do. So first thing I'm going to do is shred the papers, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've got my shredded paper bits, and I've got book paper, I've got bits of manila envelope, I've got what other shredded, just all sorts. Somewhere I've got little bits of green masking paper in here, just all sorts of shredded paper, and this is in a 15-quart bin. I don't know how much I'm going to need, so I'm just starting with this. And now I'm going to add water to this and let my paper soak. And I've seen some people that just put it in water and immediately start shredding it up. I think, and I've also seen some that say, oh, you need to let it sit for up to 12 hours, I think is the longest one I've heard. With this paper, I think what I'm going to do is, see, I can already see that the inks from my printouts are starting to run. I think what I'm going to do is let this sit for a couple of hours. Now it looks like as soon as it got wet, it obviously came down a good bit, so I may add some more paper to it. But I'm going to let that sit for a couple of hours before I start blending it up. Just kind of go between the I don't know that it'll need 12 hours because this is all just regular thin paper. But I don't want to do it immediately either, so I'm going to let it sit for a couple of hours, and then I will start blending it up and making my pulp. Okay, I've got my shredded paper here that's been sitting in the water. It's been sitting there for just over 2 hours, probably actually closer to 3 hours. And I've got it ready to go into my blender. So if you're doing this, you probably want to use a blender that will no longer be used for food. I also have a bowl here that after the pulp is made, I'll be putting it into a bowl. And I've also got some water over here. So I'm going to take, I don't even know how much to take. I don't want to fill the blender, that's for certain. So I'm going to take just a couple of small handfuls of pulp, or of the paper. It's not pulp yet. I'm going to add water to it. And we'll see, I may need to add more water as I go. We'll see how this goes. And I can figure out how the lid goes. Oh, not like that. Nope. There we go. Okay. Sorry, this is going to be loud. Let's see what we've got. Okay, I can see down at the bottom it's getting it pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and add a little more water. Okay. So now what I've got, if I can grab a handful of it, is kind of an oatmeal oh, sorry about that, kind of an oatmeal-y kind of texture. So I don't know, I'm going to try adding just a little more water just to see if that makes a difference at this point. And actually that did seem to help. So I can't even tell you how much water I've added, but so let's put some in this hand so I can show it a little better. So I've got that oatmeal-y kind of pulp. So now that will go into my bowl, and I will continue doing that with my shredded paper until, well, the paper that I've soaked at least, until it is done. And it will be going into this bowl, and then I'll come back and we can actually start making some paper. Okay, so over here I've got some of my paper pulp, and here I've got an old baking pan that, as you can see from the bottom, is no longer bake worthy, so it's become my craft pan, and I've got some water in it. So as I understand it, this is where, now I'm taking just some of my pulp, and putting it in my baking pan. Good thing I put a towel down. And this is kind of where it becomes a trial and error kind of thing. I'm going to start with the smallest and then put it in. I say you can tell if it's too thick or too thin. I can't really, I don't know how You know that, so I mean, to me it looks fine, and I don't see my hand through it. Like I said, all of this is going to be trial and error. So I'm just letting the water drip out, which it appears to have done. So I'm going to move this over to the side a little bit. And here I've got an old pillowcase. And from what I've seen and stuff, you can use a towel, you can use a pillowcase. Doesn't really matter. I think I like the idea of using a pillowcase because the air will move through it easier, which will hopefully help the paper dry more easily. Okay, so I'm going to assume I need to open up that decal. Do I though? I think I just about have to. Or does it go down with the decal closed? We'll try it with the decal closed first. Flip it over. And this is where I'm going to use my sponge, and I'm going to start soaking up water. I can see it's already letting go of the screen. So my paper may be a little thin. And let's see, I'm going to use a little bit of a towel here just to try to get those corners. Yeah, I think I can see that. Okay, so yeah, my paper is a little thin. See, now that I've got it down there, I can see too thin. All right. Not a problem. We're just going to pick this back up. Actually, I might need to actually let that dry and then pick it up. All right, so we'll let that one dry. I'll scoot it off to the side. And I'm going to put some more pulp in my water mixture. All right, let's try this again. So we're gonna scoop it down. Jiggle it around a little bit, let it even out a little bit, and let the water drain off of it. that back over. Scoot this back over. Grab another piece of that pillowcase. Flip it over. Grab my sponge again. And I can see that it's already letting go of the screen again, but I can also see it is picking up a lot more water than it did the first time. So it could be that I have it thicker than I want it this time, or than I would ultimately want it, but I think this is going to be a better result for a first time trial. So I just didn't have enough pulp. Okay, now I'm going to use this towel again just to try to get right along the edges. Okay, well, it didn't completely let go, but there we go. Okay, yeah, that looks a lot better. It's kind of messy, but I think that will just come with time and figuring it out. And like I said, it could be maybe on the next one. Okay, so there's one. Now my pulp at this point, as you can see, is kind of grayish. Like a light gray. It's not awful, but I'm going to move this over so I can try another one. Okay. So clean my board off a bit. Okay. I'm going to scoop a little more pulp in there. All right. And now I'm going to try this one a little differently because I honestly can't remember, based on what I've seen in the YouTube videos, whether that the decal part is still supposed to be on there when I set it down or not. So I want to see what happens if I open it up before I flip it over. So I'm letting my water drain out again. Getting rid of all the excess. Let's grab another towel here. Of course, we're not going to be able to see the final results of any of these until my next video because, of course, they'll have to have time to dry. And I'm not sure how long that will take. All right. So this time, scoot that over. Set out another piece of my oh, that's really thick. Really, really, really thick. That is far too thick. That's going to be like a piece of, I don't know what. But I do think, assuming it, yeah, I actually think opening that decal frame part of it up will help, because I'm getting a lot more water, and it's because it's pushing down on the hard surface of the table and stuff without having that decal part on there. I think that is the way to go. So even though this one's going to be thicker than I want, I definitely do think that is the way to go. And like I said, I'm sure the YouTube videos show it. I just can't remember. And because this one comes with the decal frame attached to it, it made it a little... Now when I squeeze my sponge out, I'm just squeezing it back into my pulp bin. Okay. I'm going to use this again to... Oh, yeah, I'm still getting too much water. There we go. Oh, you can see a little piece of paper that didn't get... Yeah, I like that much better. And it's not nearly as thick as I thought it was going to be once I got all the water squeezed out of it. Okay, so lesson learned on that. So let me move this aside, and then we will try adding a little bit of color just for fun. Okay, I've got what's left of my pulp bowl, and I've got some India ink, and I think I'm gonna start with, let's try some blue. And I'm just using the India ink because I've had this for so long and I really need to get it used up. I don't know how well this will work, if it'll work at all, but that's what I'm going to use for now. So I pulled out some blue and some red so that we can maybe get some blue and then some purple. Put a little more in. Okay. So that's enough to start with that one. So now move my big pile of pulp over. And of course, by the time I stir this all in, I may need to add some more blue to it. I think I'm going to leave it just kind of mottled like that. And this time I'm going to use the medium size frame. Let me be sure I've got a piece of the pillowcase ready. So I'm going to put it in. Pull it back up, let my water drain out. That could leave a really neat design in it. Okay. Scoot that over. Scoot this over. My bucket keeps getting heavier and heavier, or my bin. Pull out my towel, or my pillowcase rather, on top of my now sopping wet towel. All right, now I'm gonna open up the decal part, and I know that I'm working partially off screen, and I apologize for that. All right. And plop it down. Now I'm going to go through the process of soaking up the water again. Uh-oh, I see a spot that I can't tell if it's a piece of paper or if I've got a small open spot in it. But either way, I think this one's going to end up being kind of pretty. I love being able to play like this. I may never be a master paper maker, but it's so much fun to try new things. And as I mentioned, this was a birthday gift. I think I mentioned a birthday gift from my husband. And as I'm filming this, it won't go up today, but as I'm filming it, today is actually my birthday. By the time this goes up, it'll be about a week after my birthday. But I've also gotten flower deliveries today from my daughter and my mother. So I'm going to have lots of eco-dyeing flowers once they start not looking as pretty. Once they start fading a bit. Okay. Now I want to run this craft towel, tea towel around it, just to, and I don't know why, I don't remember who I saw doing this with the tea towel. I think it was Pam at the Paper Outpost, but the sponge does great, but the tea towel just kind of helps get in those corners and let you kind of know where you are with your sponging pickup. All right. Let's see if it's, yep, it let go. See, it looks like I've got one tiny little open spot there, but that's kind of cool looking paper. I hope that turns out well, because that's pretty cool looking. Okay. Now I'm just wiping some of the pulpiness off of my frame. I don't know why I'm insistent on doing that, but I am. Okay, so let me go move this aside and then we will do one more. Okay, so I moved the last one aside and we've still got some pulp here. So, and it's blue. I think I'm going to do two things with this sheet. I'm going to put some red in it and see if we can get kind of a purplish. Okay, I'm liking that. Okay, and before I dump that in, I'm going to bring this back over and I'm going to go ahead and add some red to it as well. Oops. And mix it in. This time I don't think I want as much of the marbling kind of look. So I'm slowly mixing it in, trying not to make a huge, not to splash a bunch of water all over the place. Okay. So now we can put some of this in. Mix that in. Okay. Then on this one, I'm going to want to add a little bit of flower petals to it. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and put my screen in. And just take some of these. This flower is on kind of a bulby kind of thing, so I'm just kind of tearing some of the little pieces off or peeling them off. And the only reason I'm doing it this way is I don't really want the petals all mixed. I could do it mixed within the entire batter itself, but I want to be sure that what I'm doing right now, I'm actually going to have petals or some of the floral in there. So I'm going to dump that down again, lift it back up. I didn't spread those out very well. Move that around a little bit. Oh, not that way. All right, let's see how that does. All right, let's get those flowers over. And I think the whole using flowers, again, I'm going to, some things I've read says that they set better if you use some sizing in your pulp, which I don't have, yet, but I hope to get some shortly, and I'll be trying that. Just all sorts of things to try. All right. Start scooting this over. And once again, grab my pillowcase piece. Now when I flip this, the pillowcase will end up being on, or the flowers will end up being on the bottom, so we probably won't be able to see them until this piece is dry, but that's okay. So I'm going to take it, flip it down, start squishing my water. Now, drying. I've seen and read three things. The most common is allowing the paper to air dry, which I think would most obviously be the best alternative. But I've also seen using ironing the paper to dry it. and putting it in an oven at 175 degrees. Now, my thought on both on the air dry, I think would most likely be the best alternative all the way around. Having said that, I am going to try all of them. I'm going to set some of these to air dry. I'm going to put some in the oven, and I'm going to try ironing some to dry it. Now, my thought is if I'm going to do the oven and the ironing method, I don't know that I would want to completely iron it dry or completely bake it dry. But I can see some value in speeding up the process doing it that way. So I'm gonna try some each way, since this is all an experiment, and I'll let you know in my next video which ones I've done what way and what I think of each way. Because I know, for me, excuse me, right now, the air drying, it's far too cold for them to go outside to dry, and our son is very iffy, so they're going to have to dry inside, and as cold as it is, even though it's warm in here, it's not as warm as it would be on a sunny summer day. So I don't know how long it will take to air dry. And I will let you know that in my next video as well. And so I do think, like, using the iron or the oven, like I said, I don't know that, well, number one, I don't know how long it would take with the iron or in the oven. But I don't know that I would want to completely dry them in either of those ways. Starting the drying process, sure, to help move it along, I can see that, but I don't know that I would want to complete the process. Okay. Doing this around the edges helps be sure that it releases from the edges and getting up that extra water that might get caught in the corners. So let's see what we've got here. Oh, that's pretty. Pretty, pretty. Okay, so that is, you've now seen my very first attempt at paper making, and please come back and watch my next video in which I'll be showing you the results of my first attempt at paper making, and let me know what you think. So until next time, everyone, I wish you all a wonderfully happy, crafty day, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.